Bike trails in Orem, like this one here, were the trigger for the Department of Public Safety to start the new bike force. But as the weeks have gone on in the program, the officers have found out that the bikes do more good than just here on the trails. Harvard Farms sells these homegrown pumpkins wholesale in Arizona, but you can also find them in grocery stores around Utah. BYU started getting rid of their extra and waste chemicals over 100 years ago by dumping them on the South Hill of campus. The EPA has their eyes on BYU because many of the chemicals in high concentrations can cause cancer or even death. Thankfully, the concentrations of the chemicals on BYU campus are not that high.
Hannah, what's BYU doing to clean up the mess?
Thankfully, they already started cleaning up the mess with a special machine called the Salo tray. It evaporates the chemicals out of the ground. They've already cleaned up thousands of gallons of the chemicals, but experts say it will be about 65 years and over $500 million to clean up the entire mess. Pumpkin farmers start thinking about these fall squash long before the weather turns cool. The owner of Harwood Farms in Springville says he plants the seeds in May, a process farmhands say is the hardest part.
It's just really hard, labor intensive, bending over all day and it's fast paced.
When September comes, it's time to bring in the harvest. And with pumpkins, there's really only one way to do it, the old-fashioned way.
So I've got a crew going through with just a regular knife and cutting them from the vine, away from the vine, and then setting them on top of the row because the pumpkins are kind of growing all over the field. So we go through and cut them off the vine and then put them in a row so that when our picking crew comes through, they can pick up the certain size that we need.
After picking and packaging, the pumpkins go to the warehouse, where forklifts stack them nice and neat, ready for trucks to take them to stores. Harwood Farms sells these homegrown pumpkins wholesale in Arizona, but you can also find them in grocery stores around Utah. After that, it's up to you where the pumpkins go. Pies, jack-o'-lanterns, or painted by your kids.
So like I take a paintbrush and then I put paint on it and then I start painting. I'm not sure what I do if I want a different color. I don't remember.
In Springville, Hannah Mouritsen, 11 News. A special squad of 5 Orem police officers are riding bicycles to catch crooks. After a number of crimes on the running trails last year, Orem police are putting bicycles where squad cars can't fit.
We'll be able to patrol the bike trail of Provo Canyon in a very timely fashion. I mean, it's hard to, in patrol cars, you have to find a place to park and then jump onto the trail and get to where you need to go.
A 5-year-old can ride a bike, but riding up and down a trail with a gun and handcuffs takes a bit of work. Officers went through a 40-hour training to get ready for the trails. But as the weeks have gone on in the program, the officers have found out that the bikes do more good than just here on the trails. In places like parking garages and apartment complexes, bicycles help catch underage drinkers.
2 weeks ago, I had a group of 6. They were all drinking, and I was there for a good 45 seconds before they even recognized who I was.
Corporal Vance says he rides up the Provo Canyon Trail about 2 times a shift, as well as riding around the neighborhood.
And I like to run on the trails if I can, if the weather's nice, just because it's much prettier there than in the neighborhoods. So it's definitely a nice feeling knowing that there's constantly a police force out there riding their bikes.
In Provo, Hannah Mouritsen, 11 News. Seats filled up quickly as people waited for Evans to swear in before the city recorder. Mayor Evans told me his past experience on the council will definitely help him in his new position. James T. Evans served 6 years on the Orem City Council previously, but has never stepped into the chambers as mayor. He raised his hand before the community last night to pledge his commitment for the next 2 years, and he said he was nervous.
I'm a low-stress person, but I had some knots in my stomach and things, but by the time we got to the end of the meeting right now, talking to you, it's like, you know, we're going to do this.
Mayor Evans is experienced, but his experience is from more than 20 years ago. Coming in mid-term, some wondered if there will be a learning curve he can't get over, but Orem City attorney said there won't be.
That's one of the advantages of him having served here before, and I think he'll be up to speed. I'm confident you'll see that by the next meeting.
When sworn in, the mayor said that the meeting's opening prayer is one of his favorite things to hear. He also asked his family to stand during his remarks to thank them publicly. As new mayor, Evans will spend a lot of time in council, but in his off time, he has a surprising hobby.
He likes to DJ. He loves music, and he will DJ parties.
You will see Mayor Evans voting in council meetings, but you might also see him at the next wedding you go to. After Mayor Evans took the oath last night, he participated fully in the meeting. He will serve 2 years in his position and then has the opportunity to run again if he chooses. Brian? Brian, it was a neighborhood meeting, so only the candidates from that district were there, but also in attendance were the citywide candidates who hope to fill the seat previously occupied by Steve Turley. An Iraq war veteran, a building contractor, a UVU professor, and a New Skin VP, otherwise known as the District 4 and citywide candidates for Provo City Council, all met together to answer questions as diverse as their backgrounds. The District 4 candidates identified the planned West Provo Highway between Geneva Road and Utah Lake, or the Northwest Connector, as the main issue for their district.
Probably the number one issue in our district has to do with transportation. East-west through the freeway, and then this Northwest Corridor. And
one difference between the two candidates is how to get the funding. Van Buren says he wants to increase private retail business to generate tax money to pay for it. Jim Peterson says the road is important enough to increase taxes in Provo and surrounding areas, but he says he doesn't want the taxes to stay.
I would hope that we would be able to generate enough revenue through new businesses that come in that we would eventually be able to remove that tax altogether.
Citywide candidate Yancey Hardy wants to decrease city spending by privatizing the Provo Golf Club and turning the airport over to the county. His opponent, Gary Garrett, proposes privatizing city services to save money, but is still considering which services he proposes to change. Are November 8th, just a few weeks away, so expect to hear from all the candidates soon. Hannah Dunn in the newsroom, 11 News.
Hannah, is it too late for people to register to vote in this coming general election?
It is too late for those who wanted to register via mail-in registration, but you can still do so in person or online up to 15 days before the election date. Visit my news story at 11news.byu.edu for a link to that website.